2026 is going to separate people into two categories: those who can feed themselves when prices spike again, and those who can't. If you're watching this video right now, you're already ahead of 95% of people who think grocery stores will always be there with affordable food. But here's what almost nobody is talking about: the way you've been taught to garden is designed to keep you dependent, frustrated, and buying more stuff every season. What I'm about to show you flips that entire model on its head. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to create a food system that works for you instead of against you. Welcome to Timeless Gardens, where we prove that growing your own food isn't reserved for people with acres of land or trust funds. I'm genuinely grateful you're here, whether this is your first video or you've been with us since day one. My returning viewers know we don't waste time with fluffy content that sounds nice but doesn't actually work. We give you real strategies that put real food on your table without emptying your wallet. And if you're new here, you picked the perfect time to start, because 2026 is going to be the year that changes everything for people who take action. Before we dive into what's going to make 2026 your breakthrough year, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the information we share here isn't just about gardening, it's about taking control of the one thing that matters most: your ability to feed your family no matter what happens in the world. And drop a comment right now. Tell me your biggest frustration with gardening so far, or what you're most worried about for 2026. I read every single comment, and your concerns shape what I teach next. Alright, let's build your food independence starting today. Why 2026 is different. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth that most gardening channels won't tell you. The traditional gardening advice you've been following, the stuff about buying new seeds every year, investing in expensive amendments, relying on specific fertilizers and pest controls, that entire system was designed by an industry that profits from your dependency. Think about it. Every spring you're told to buy new seed packets, even though plants have been saving their own seeds for millions of years. You're told your soil needs constant inputs, even though forests feed themselves without human intervention. You're told you need specialized equipment, even though humans have been growing food with basic tools since the dawn of agriculture. 2026 is different because the cracks in the system are becoming impossible to ignore. Food prices aren't coming back down. Supply chains are more fragile than ever. Climate unpredictability is making conventional gardening advice obsolete. And the gap between people who understand food production and people who don't is widening into a chasm. But here's the opportunity hidden in that crisis. This is the year where you stop being a consumer of gardening products and start being a producer of food. Not just someone who dabbles with a few tomato plants in summer, but someone who builds a genuine food system that reduces your grocery dependency by 30, 50, even 70%. The people who figure this out in 2026 will spend the next decade eating better food for less money while everyone else watches their grocery bills climb. The people who don't figure it out will keep doing what they've always done and wondering why it never quite works. The 3 shifts that change everything. There are 3 fundamental shifts you need to make if you want 2026 to be the year you actually succeed at growing your own food. These aren't tips or tricks. These are paradigm shifts that change how you think about the entire process. Shift number 1: stop thinking seasonal, start thinking cyclical. Most people treat gardening like a summer hobby. They plant in spring, harvest in summer, maybe do something in fall, then check out for winter. That approach leaves you buying 80% of your food from stores because you're only producing for a few months. A cyclical system means something is always growing, always maturing, or always being stored. You're planting cool season crops in fall that harvest through winter and early spring. You're succession planting warm season crops so they mature at different times. You're growing storage crops that feed you for months after harvest. You're using cover crops in empty beds to build soil for the next cycle. When you shift from seasonal to cyclical, you go from a garden that produces for 3 months to a food system that produces year-round. That's not harder, it's just different thinking. Shift number 2: stop buying inputs, start creating them. Right now you're probably buying compost, fertilizer, pest control, seeds, and amendments. Every single one of those costs money and creates dependency. But here's what experienced food growers know: your garden should be producing those inputs, not consuming them. Compost comes from your kitchen scraps and garden waste. Fertilizer comes from nitrogen-fixing plants like peas, beans, and clover that you grow intentionally. Pest control comes from creating habitat for beneficial insects and birds. Seeds come from letting some of your best plants go to seed and saving them. Soil amendments come from cover crops and mulch you generate on site. This shift takes a year or two to fully implement, but once it's in place, your ongoing costs drop to almost nothing. You're no longer a customer, you're a producer. And the money you save can go toward expanding your system or just staying in your pocket. Shift number 3, stop chasing perfection, start building resilience. The industrial agriculture mindset teaches you to want perfect plants, zero pests, total control over every variable. That mindset requires constant intervention, constant spending, and constant stress. Resilient systems embrace imperfection. You plant more than you need knowing some will fail. You grow diverse varieties knowing some will handle this year's weather better than others. You accept that some of your food will have a bug hole or a weird shape and you eat it anyway because it's still food. Resilience means when something fails, the system continues. When the tomatoes get blight, the squash is fine. When the lettuce bolts early, the chard is still producing. When one variety struggles, another thrives. You're not trying to control nature, you're working with it and hedging your bets. These 3 shifts, from seasonal to cyclical, from consumer to producer, from perfection to resilience, these are what separate people who successfully grow meaningful amounts of food from people who struggle with a few plants every summer. The 2026 Action Plan. Now let's get tactical. Here's exactly what you need to do in 2026 to build a food system that actually feeds you. January through March is your foundation phase. This is when most people are doing nothing, which is exactly why you need to be active. Plant cold hardy crops, spinach, kale, peas, broad beans, lettuce, radishes. These grow in weather that would kill summer crops, and they mature fast. You're eating fresh food in late winter and early spring when everyone else is paying premium prices at stores. But more importantly, this is when you start your soil building. Plant cover crops in empty beds: winter rye, field peas, crimson clover. These plants grow through the cold months, fix nitrogen, prevent erosion, and suppress weeds. In spring you cut them down and turn them into the soil, creating free fertilizer and organic matter. You're building fertility while others are buying bags of compost. April through June is your expansion phase. Your cold crops are producing, so you're already eating from your garden. Now you're planting warm season crops: tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers, beans. But you're not planting everything at once. You're succession planting, putting in small amounts every 2 weeks so harvests are staggered instead of overwhelming. This is also when you establish your perennials if you haven't already. Asparagus, rhubarb, berries, perennial herbs. These crops produce for years or decades from one planting. They're the backbone of a low-maintenance food system because once established, they just keep giving. And you're saving seeds from your best cold season crops as they finish. That spinach that did great? Let one plant go to seed. Those peas that produced like crazy? Save seeds from the best pods. You're building your own seed bank adapted to your specific conditions. July through September is your production and preservation phase. This is peak harvest season. You're eating fresh daily, but you're also preserving for winter. Freezing, canning, dehydrating, fermenting, root cellaring. The goal isn't just to eat well in summer, it's to put away enough food to carry you through winter and spring. You're also planting your fall and winter crops now. More lettuce, spinach, kale, carrots, beets, turnips. These will mature in fall and many will hold in the garden through winter, giving you fresh food during the coldest months. And you're planting cover crops again in beds that have finished producing. You're never leaving soil bare because bare soil is wasted opportunity. Cover crops are always growing, always building, always preparing for the next food crop. October through December is your storage and planning phase. You're harvesting storage crops, potatoes, onions, garlic, winter squash, cabbage, carrots. These crops, properly stored, feed you for months. A good fall harvest can provide staples all winter. You're also planting garlic and overwintering onions. These go in the ground in fall, grow slowly through winter, and mature in early summer. You're thinking ahead, setting up next year's food supply. And you're taking notes. What worked? What failed? What would you do differently? Next year's success is built on this year's lessons. Pause here for a second because I want to make sure this is landing. If you're starting to see that growing your own food isn't about having a green thumb or perfect conditions, it's about having a system, then hit that like button. And seriously, comment below. Tell me which phase you're in right now or which part of this plan feels most challenging. This community is built on real people sharing real experiences, and I want to hear from you. Let's keep going. The mindset that makes it work. Here's what I've learned from watching thousands of people try to grow their own food. The ones who succeed don't have better soil, more space, or ideal weather. They have a different mindset. First, they think in years, not seasons. They know that year 1 is about learning and establishing. Year 2 is when things start clicking. Year 3 is when the system really comes together. They don't expect instant perfection. They expect to get better every year. Second, they value function over appearance. Their gardens aren't Instagram perfect. They're productive. There are weeds in the paths, some plants are overgrown, nothing is in perfect rows. But the food output is incredible because all the energy goes into production, not aesthetics. Third, they see failure as data. When something doesn't work, they don't quit. They ask why and adjust. That's not a failure, that's information. Every mistake teaches them something about their specific conditions that no book or video could tell them. Fourth, they start small and expand gradually. They don't try to grow everything in year 1. They master a few crops, get those dialed in, then add more. Building slowly creates sustainable success instead of overwhelming burnout. And fifth, they share abundantly. They give away excess food, share seeds, teach neighbors. Because they understand that food security isn't just personal, it's community. The more people around them who can grow food, the more resilient everyone becomes. What success actually looks like. Let me paint a picture of what success looks like after a year of implementing this approach, because I want you to have a clear target. It's January 2027. You walk out to your garden and harvest fresh kale, spinach, and leeks even though there's frost on the ground. You come back inside and make breakfast using eggs from your chickens if you have them, or store-bought if you don't, but the vegetables are yours. Your pantry has jars of canned tomatoes, dried beans you grew, frozen berries, fermented vegetables, and dehydrated herbs. Your root cellar or cool storage has potatoes, onions, garlic, carrots, and winter squash. You haven't bought any of these items in months. Your seed collection has grown from a few store-bought packets to jars of seeds you saved from your best plants, perfectly adapted to your garden. Your soil has improved noticeably. It's darker, fluffier, full of worms. You haven't bought fertilizer or compost in months because your system produces it. You spend maybe 5 hours a week maintaining this system. Not because it's low effort, but because it's efficient. You've eliminated wasted motion. You know what needs doing and when. It's routine, not chaos. And your grocery bills have dropped by hundreds of dollars per month. Not because you're eating less, but because you're producing more. The money you're not spending on vegetables is money that stays with your family. That's what success looks like. Not perfection. Not a showpiece garden. Just a functional system that feeds you reliably while costing you less money and giving you better food. The real reason this matters. Look, I could sit here and talk about the practical benefits of growing food all day. Saving money, eating healthier, getting exercise, reducing your carbon footprint. All of that is true and valuable. But the real reason this matters goes deeper. We're living in a time where most people have zero connection to their own survival. They don't know where food comes from, how it's grown, or what to do if the system that provides it breaks down. That's not just ignorance, it's vulnerability. When you learn to grow food, you're not just acquiring a skill. You're reclaiming a piece of fundamental human knowledge that we've outsourced for barely 2 generations. You're proving to yourself that you're capable of providing for your family in the most basic and important way. There's something that changes in people when they realize they can feed themselves. A confidence, a groundedness, a reduction in anxiety about the future. Because no matter what happens with the economy, politics, or the supply chain, you know you can put food on the table. That's what 2026 can be for you. Not just a year where you grew some vegetables, but the year you became someone who can feed themselves. Alright, here's what I need you to do. If this video gave you clarity on what's possible and how to get there, share it. Send it to someone who's frustrated with grocery prices or overwhelmed by gardening. This information is too important to keep to yourself. Subscribe to Timeless Gardens if you haven't already, because every week we're dropping practical strategies that make food independence achievable for regular people with regular budgets. No hype, no fluff, just information that works. And comment below. Tell me one specific thing you're going to implement in 2026. Just one. I want to hear it, because writing it down makes you 10 times more likely to actually do it. 2026 is going to be a defining year. Not because of anything happening in the world, but because of what you decide to do with the time you have. Don't let it slip by with good intentions and no action. Start today. I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive even deeper into making you food secure. Until then, keep growing.